You look at China, by the way, their military has a plane that is the absolute equal of our F-35, which is state of the art. And of course it's the equal to our F-35 because they stole the plans from Lockheed Martin. China does corporate espionage on a regular basis, and we have not done anything to stop them.
Concerns of a third world war have been in the hearts and minds of military leaders and the general public since the second one finished. As old enemies fall, new eager warlords rise to take their place on almost a daily basis. But how realistic is this dark fantasy of a new age global conflict? Maybe more importantly, how would America survive and prevail in a cyber war? His work is fiction, but it does speak to what may become fact, and it's based on fact. Strategist and senior fellow at the New American Foundation, founder of Neo Luddite, a technology advisory firm, and co-author of Ghost Fleet, a novel of the next world war. Let's welcome Peter Singer to MidPoint. Peter, thanks for joining us. And I have to tell you, in light of what's been going on here the last couple of days and the last couple of weeks, the first question that comes to mind is, all your research, are we ready for a cyber war? And if not, how far behind are we?
I don't think we're ready in that, as you mentioned, the book is a novel, but it's backed by nonfiction style research. And one of the documents that we used on it was from the Pentagon's own weapons tester, who examined every single weapon program in the U.S. and found, in their words, significant vulnerabilities. And so what the book tries to do is plays with the what if. What if we did go to war? What might happen? How might these vulnerabilities be exploited? What would this war be like? And not just in cyberspace, but land, air, sea, and even outer space. If you saw a conflict in the 21st century, it would touch all of these different places.
Peter, we're the nation that's supposed to be so far ahead of all the others, especially when it comes to military. Yet it seems every single day we hear how far behind we are. In your research and in getting ready for the novel itself, how did we fall so drastically behind and other countries seem to have the upper hand on us at almost every turn?
I think you hit it exactly. There's this kind of assumption that we have that we're ahead, and we've had that for 70 years, but it would be very different if there was a war with China or a Russia, particularly moving forward. And the reasons hit everything from how we've not kept pace in our science and technology and education to intellectual property theft. So the example of the F-35, which it's a program that we're planning to spend over $1 trillion with a T, dollars on, and my co-author, August Cole, he was the reporter who broke the story that the program had been hacked on 3 separate occasions. And so we're seeing, it's hard to win an arms race when you're paying the R&D costs for the other side. And then the final thing that's different with, say, back in World War II is there's all of this exciting technology that's happening on the civilian market, and that's where a lot of the cutting edge stuff is. And the Pentagon is not the one leading the way. It's finding it very hard just to keep pace with what Silicon Valley is doing. And so you combine all of these different things together, and it creates a risk that looks very different than, say, the wars of today in Iraq, Afghanistan, but also very different than the wars of 1945. And that's what we play in the book is, combine it in a techno-thriller style, but it has over 400 endnotes to document how every single technology trend in it is real.
Got a couple of minutes left here, so I do want to get right to Ghost Fleet, and it's depicting a war between China and the U.S. So using the research and using what's happened today, what did you see that as absolutely positive items, realities, that could happen to make that war occur?
Well, I don't want to give the plot away completely, so I'll just say this. In the real world, like in the fiction world, wars start through any number of ways. Wars can start accidentally, 2 warships scraping paint over some reef in the South China Sea that no one can find on a nautical chart. Or wars start through deliberate choices, a reordering of world politics. One of the things that's been interesting for us as writers, though, is that the opening scene of the book, which was written 18 months ago, the scene in it, a U.S. Navy P-8 surveillance plane is angrily ordered away by radio by a Chinese military officer. That was the fiction scene that we wrote 18 months ago. It happened in reality just a couple weeks ago. And as a writer, you have kind of a conflicted response to that. On one hand, you got something right. On the other hand, it's the opening scene of a book that wrestles with what World War III would look like.
Peter, I only got about 30 seconds left, so let me ask you when it comes down to robots, because all we hear about is AI these days, artificial intelligence. In your opinion, how far are we away from actually having a war conducted by robots.
Well, we're already seeing it today. The war against ISIS, every single actor, the U.S., the Syrian government, ISIS itself have operated drones. If you saw a war between the big powers, it would be one that would involve not just warships and warplanes manned by people, but both the U.S. Air Force, Navy, but also the Chinese are all deploying drones into their battle fleets. And it sets up a very interesting, not just technologic story, but human story. What's it like for that fighter pilot to fly with drones in the air alongside them? And we interviewed real U.S. Air Force fighter pilots to get their views about it.
My friends, the future is here. The book is called Ghost Fleet, a novel of the next World War, and Peter Singer is the author. Peter, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thank you.
All right, our pleasure. Stay with us. MidPoint continues.